Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and it's the 12 Days of Christmas. So today, we're finding ourselves stranded on a deserted island, and I had to pick some books to keep me company until I get rescued. And I tried very hard to pick authors I have not read yet. I know there's at least one exception to that rule, maybe more, but they're all thick. And my only caveat is that somehow if I get stranded on a desert island with these books, I get the bind up of the entire series where applicable. Probably doesn't exist in most cases, but I'm highly unlikely to get stranded on a desert island either, so I can live in my own little fantasy land here about the bind ups. Okay, so what did I choose? And hopefully some of these end up on the 25 and 2025 list from Dave. I am filming this on the 2nd. I don't yet know what he's chosen. So there are a couple of caveats for what I could not choose. Couldn't be on my Kindle. It could not be the Bible, my catechism, and it could not be the complete works of Shakespeare. So that eliminated some very easy choices. So these are all fiction. Let's dive in. First up would be the Kingsbridge series. The first book is The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. As you know, I was supposed to read this in 2024. Didn't happen. And it is just shy of 900 pages. So it would keep me busy for a while on my imaginary deserted island. Next up, and if this all arrived in a huge bind-up, it would be unwieldy, so maybe I could get several bind-ups to comprise the entire series. That would be The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. It's another big, fat, chunky one, and this one is, oh look, just shy of 900 pages. I'm noticing a theme here. And next up is another book just shy of 900 pages. That is Janie Wertz, Curse of the Mistwraith. And the 11th and final book in this series has just been released. So, again, they would have to come in multiple bind-ups, but I would be good with that. And this series would take me a very long time to finish this writing. I have started it. I'm going to have to restart when I read this. Her writing is beautiful and lyrical, but at the same time, it is dense and far more literary in nature than easy to grasp and pick up fantasy. So, yeah, I would not blow through this 900 page, 850 odd pages, in a heartbeat. Okay. Next up, The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kadash. This is, what is this? How many pages is this? Just shy of 600. I think this sounds so amazing. I'll read you the flap. Set in London in the 1660s and of the early 2000s, The Weight of Ink is the interwoven tale of two women of remarkable intellect. Esther Velasquez, an immigrant from Amsterdam who is permitted to scribe for a blind rabbi just before plague hits the city. And Helen Watt, an ailing historian with a love of Jewish history. When Helen is summoned by a former student to view a cache of newly discovered 17th century Jewish documents, she enlists the help of Aaron Levi, an American graduate student as impatient as he is charming, and embarks on one last project to determine the identity of the document scribe, the elusive Aleph. Electrifying and ambitious, The Weight of Ink is the story of women separated by centuries and the choices and sacrifices they must make in order to reconcile the life of the heart and mind. I think this sounds fabulous, and I want to read this. Okay, next up. Next up is the book I've wanted to read all year, and this one is just shy of 800 pages. That is The Lady Brewer of London by Karen Brooks. I have not read anything by her. I love this cover. Like, seriously, I love this cover. And it is one I'm hoping Dave picks in 25. You know, it's of a length he should pick. Time will tell. Okay. That leads us to Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. And I told you the story. I tried to read this in high school, and I just couldn't get on with it. And I somehow got Sister Rosemary to let me out of it. Do not ask me how that happened. So, it is 657 pages without the notes. And, yeah. I would be, perfectly happy if this landed. I've read a little bit on the way home from the library, and I could not understand why younger me didn't get on with it. Okay, now for two authors I know I have read, but I have not read either of these books. So first up would be Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This is a nice, big, chunky volume, just over 800 pages, deckled edges, nice and floppy, and this is a Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. So, and the text is uninterrupted by annotations and notes, so I am very, very pleased. All the notes are at the back. So, Anna Karenina. Okay, next up I have read this author, but not this book, would be The Memoirs of Cleopatra by Margaret George. And this one was published in 1997. So it does not work for Anne's Challenge, but I love Margaret George. Like, I love Margaret George. And if I had a copy of the autobiography of Henry VIII, that would make this list, even though it would be a reread for me. I haven't read it in decades, and it is an absolutely stellar book. And if I ever see it again, I will pick it up. Okay, I believe everything else I have not read. Anything by these authors, that is correct. Okay. So, well, nope, that's not correct. I have read him. That is The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle this year. Absolutely fell in love with this man's writing. And I want to read this one. This one would be a much smaller read in comparison. It is just under 500 pages. So, yeah. I am very much looking forward to this book. If Dave picks it, please pick it. Please pick it. Okay, now I haven't read everyone on this list. First up would be Guy Gavriel Kay, All the Seas in the World, of the World. And I will read you the back. On a dark night along a lonely stretch of coast, a small ship sends two people ashore. Their purpose is assassination. They have been hired by two of the most dangerous men alive to alter the balance of power in the world. If they succeed, the consequences will affect destinies of empires and lives, both great and small. One of those arriving at the beach is a woman abducted by corsairs as a child and sold into years of servitude. Having escaped, she is trying to chart her own course and is bent upon revenge. Another is a seafaring merchant who still remembers being exiled as a child with his family from their home for their faith, a moment that never leaves him. In what follows, through a story both intimate and epic, unforgettable characters are immersed in the fierce and deadly struggles that define their time. I think it sounds fantastic. I've heard nothing but praise for this author, and this is 500 pages, so it's not even that long in comparison to some of them over here. The cover is beautiful, and yeah, I need to know what happens in that book. Okay. And I think this is, by page count, the longest book here. No, it is not. It is right around 850 pages too. That is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is historical magical realism, and it's one of those I have not watched the BBC series, by the way. I'm waiting until after I read this one. And it's one of those I'm going to read slowly and enjoy. At least that is my plan. If it catches my attention, and that may not be so slow. And there are illustrations scattered throughout. So I'm very, very interested in this book. Okay, next up is a library find, and this is one of those ones that is part of I believe it's a trilogy, but I know there's an entire world written about this book. And it is a grimy, dark fantasy. It was published in 2007. That is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. It's a little damaged cover, but that's okay. Otherwise, the book is in perfect condition from the library. This is supposed to be funny, but grimy, dark, and fantasy, and I've heard nothing but great things, so I want to try it for myself and see. Next up is the first book of the trilogy of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, and I would need the other two immediately, landing on my desert island, because they're supposed to be awesome. And, if I could get the other books by Tad Williams included in that, mythical drop on my deserted island, that would be great. That is The Dragonbone Chair. It'd be awesome if Dave chose this year. This one is just shy of 650 pages, so in theory, it's not that long. Okay, last up is a book I've wanted to read since I picked it up, and it is historical fiction. It is short. It is under 500 pages. It's 484 pages. That is Queen by Right by Anne Easter Smith. I have read nothing by her. I love her covers. I love the time period in which she writes. And I will read you the back. History remembers Cecily of York standing on the steps of the market cross at Ludlow, facing an attacking army while holding the hands of her two young sons. Queen by Right reveals how she came to step into her destiny, beginning with her marriage to Richard, Duke of York, whom she meets when she is 8 and he is 12. Raised together in her father's household, they become a true love match, and together face personal tragedies, pivotal events of history, and deadly political intrigue. All of England knows that Richard has a clear claim to the throne, and when King Henry VI becomes unfit to rule, Cecily must put aside her hopes and fears and help her husband decide what is right for their family and their country. Tudor politics at its finest. So, those are all the books I would like to somehow get shipwrecked with me on a deserted island. And have you thought about what you would choose? Let me know in the comments down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.